Austin Bohannon was no stranger to hiking, particularly in this area of the woods. Therefore, when he embarked on this hike with his stepfather, Mather, he expected that they might find themselves in a challenging situation. Despite the remoteness of the Smoky Mountains, both Austin and his stepfather were seasoned hikers. Austin was accustomed to the wilderness, yet he still managed to lose his way. Despite the deployment of drones and helicopters, they couldn't catch a glimpse of him. It was as if the mountains had swallowed him whole. The case had suspicious details from the outset, prompting Park Chief Ranger Steve Kloster to have a gut feeling that something was amiss. Having been involved in searches before, he could tell when someone was withholding information. With each passing hour, the chances of finding the missing boy alive dwindled. Kloster scrutinized the map, contemplating the boy's possible whereabouts. Was the boy's stepfather responsible for his disappearance? If not, why did he wait to provide crucial information? It was just a regular day in August when Austin and his stepfather, Hubert, took off for a hike in the Smoky Mountains. They had walked the trail before, and it didn't usually rain this time of year, so there wasn't much to be concerned about. Austin and Hubert were well aware that situations can change in a moment, so they remained vigilant. The endless terrain of trees and scrub meant that someone could become disoriented. But they had each other and really didn't foresee anything untoward arising. They took a particular path near a creek, as there was something they had their eye on that day. That something was a plant that could fetch around $600, so they were eager to get hold of one. However, removing the plant from the national park was against the law. Hubert and Austin thought that it was worth the risk, as people were now coveting the plant more and more to make various supplements and drinks. As they made their way along the creek, Hubert lost his footing when he tried to stand on a wet rock. When he tried to straighten up, he managed to knock off his glasses right into the water below. This wasn't good news, and he let out a shout. Hubert needed his glasses to see. He knew that he wouldn't be able to go any further into the national park, and indeed, navigating any of the territories around the mountains was pretty precarious without his glasses. Austin knew this, so when he spotted what was wrong, he leaped into the water to get his stepfather's spectacles. Austin found his footing in the water and began to kick around, searching for the glasses. Hubert carefully climbed in to join him, and they began wading gently through the water. However, Hubert shouldn't have been in the water at all. When he couldn't see, he didn't realize that he was actually moving away from Austin every moment, and the boy was focused on finding the glasses. When Hubert thought back on the moment, it brought a lump to his throat. Hubert's report stated that he hadn't even registered that he couldn't see or hear Austin. He was simply looking into the water for his glasses. When he grasped that the 18-year-old was not in sight, he didn't panic immediately. They must have wandered apart. Hubert tried to move back to where he had been, but it was difficult with his sight curtailed. He called for Austin but received no reply. He reported all this to park rangers a few days later, but Park Chief Ranger Steve Kloster didn't think he was getting the full story from the older man. When Park Chief Ranger Steve Kloster got the call about Austin's disappearance, he wondered why Hubert had waited 2 days before reporting the boy as missing. They had gone walking on 11 August, but nothing was officially reported until 13 August. Kloster figured that something strange had gone down in the national park that Hubert wasn't discussing. However, he still put together a search party and went on the hunt for the boy. If he could be found, then he could provide the answers. Chief Ranger was in charge of a team of more than 100 people who went looking for Austin. He'd also arranged for K-9 units to support them from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, and helicopters were dispatched to comb the higher areas on the ground for any sign of the boy. However, Austin seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Kloster became more concerned and was convinced that Hubert Dyer was hiding something about the hike. The search party worked in 90-degree weather, and Kloster waited for information. They hadn't found the boy yet. Kloster went back to the map where Hubert had said that Austin disappeared. Everyone had been through the area, including the dogs, but there was no trace of the boy. He was concerned that something bad had happened to Austin, but he hoped that he was wrong. He decided to go over the 6,700-acre area, but knew that time was slipping out of their grasp. At least it wasn't freezing, but still, the boy must need sustenance. Why weren't they finding anything left behind? Why was there absolutely no evidence of the boy? When he asked Hubert to pinpoint the area, he wasn't exactly clear, which Kloster found suspicious. Chief Park Ranger Kloster got in contact with Hubert once more and asked him to come and speak with him again. He knew time was of the essence, so he wanted to find out anything else he could before he called off the search. Austin had now been gone for 10 whole days. Gloucester knew that the boy's stepfather had some information that he hadn't yet shared, and he hoped to persuade him to come clean this time. Hubert disclosed one piece of information that changed everything. Hubert Diringer didn't want to admit that he and Austin had gone looking for the highly coveted ginseng plant, as he knew that it was illegal to remove them from the park. He told Gloucester about the plant, and finally, the park ranger knew that Hubert was telling the truth. Hopefully, it wasn't too late. Gloucester now had the plant in his possession, and he called on some guides who could advise where in the park to find these kinds of plants. Everyone was trying to keep their spirits up and not assume the worst about Austin. He had experience in the outdoors and knew the trails of the Smoky Mountains, so hopefully, he had found a way to survive. The chief park ranger was also encouraging now that he knew nothing untoward had happened out in the wilderness. He said that Austin's age was on his side and the fact that there was fresh water to be found throughout the national park. However, it was a concern that he had been gone so long. It had now been 11 days since Austin had last been seen by Hubert wading in the creek. Chief Ranger Steve Gloucester had carried out searches before in his 20-year career at the Tennessee National Park, but not for this long. He was trying to get by, remembering the survival theory that he had learned through the years. He knew that he had to keep a clear head throughout. When he realized that he was missing initially, he made for higher ground, knowing that would give him the most chance of being seen. He wanted to climb higher to get a signal on his cell phone. If he could call someone, he thought he could get help quickly. He knew there might not be many signals in the park, but he tried anyway. It was disappointing when he couldn't get any signal at all. Austin had planned to call his mom because he missed her voice. He needed to find water quickly to survive. He knew he could survive without food, but not without water. He had been looking for food, but hadn't found any. His stomach had been growling, but it stopped after a week. He must have found a way to survive. He thought about his mom a lot and knew she would be worried. He was far from where people were searching for him. He couldn't hear the helicopters or see the boats searching for him in the river. Canine units raced through the trees, hoping to catch Austin's scent, but both he and the search teams were disoriented. That changed one day when Austin heard the distant thud of helicopter blades. Though obscured by the dense canopy, the sound filled him with hope, knowing that efforts to find him persisted. Determined, he sought a way to signal his location. Throughout the search, rescuers alternated between being slightly ahead and behind Austin. Then, on the 11th day, a sight ignited their spirits, a book and kayaks by the river. Summoning his remaining strength, Austin called out to them. Recognizing the scene, the book's owner knew they had finally found the missing boy, bringing relief and safety at last.